Otakus and casual fans, hello again. Junky, the Master Beta, back finally to bring you my first review of the summer season of 2014. You know, if there's one thing I'm not used to seeing, it's animes that are thrillers. When I see the thriller tagline, I think something more along the lines of Higurashi that are about horror and creepiness rather than thrills, or Ergo Proxy, like not so much thrills as it is the psychological part. But this is probably due to the fact that we don't get many hardcore, serious thriller animes. How often do we get an anime that's on par with big action movies like Die Hard or big-time TV shows like 24? Not very often, right? Thankfully, I finally found one, and boy is it marvelous. Thank you very much for joining me for my review of Zankyou no Terror, or in English, Terror in Tokyo. Praise goes to Kalith for the fan subs. 世界から弾き出されて途方もなく細い針の上にいたバランスを取る指の先が君に触れた一人じゃないと分かった僕らにただ一つ与えられてた Terror in Tokyo is a standalone animated work produced by MAPPA, which is founded by former Madhouse producer Masao Maruyama. Noteworthy works include Kids on the Slope and Garo the Animation. The anime is directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, who is the critically acclaimed director of many other award-winning animated works, including Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. Yuzuru Tachikawa acted as the assistant director, and Masao Maruyama and Gen Fukunaga as executive producer. Character designs were handled by Ergo Proxy's Kazuto Nakazawa. The music is done by Yoko Kanno, who worked on the soundtracks for both Ghost in the Shell and Darker Than Black. The anime aired on July 10th, 2014, and Funimation has acquired North American streaming rights and will hopefully release a DVD with an English dub sometime soon. The anime opens with two terrorists undergoing a theft of some plutonium from a nuclear processing facility. In what is arguably a giddy fashion depending on how your views of terrorists should behave on a job, after a nicely animated escape with the weapon of mass destruction, we skip ahead 6 months later to see that the two thieves, 9, who goes by the alias Arato Kokonoe, and 12, who goes by the alias Toji Hisami. And get this, they're actually just two teenage boys. Fancy that. Enrolling into a new school for no real logical reason that isn't gone into detail the entire series, they meet a very unemotional bully victim, Lisa Mishima. For some strange reason, 12 takes an interest in her, whether due to the fact he finds misunderstood bitches hot or just for fun, I don't know. Later, the two misfits proceed to bomb a building with what I like to call kawaii bombs. A building that Mishima was coincidentally visiting. Due to 12's interest in the girl, or concern, one or the other, he and 9 get her involved in destroying the building, officially making her their accomplice. Methinks a few whiny 9/11 enthusiasts are feeling pretty salty right now. Okay, yeah, I guess you're expecting better than that. I suck at making offensive, controversial jokes, okay? Sue me. Due to her school and home life, which are both total shit, she throws herself into the boys' business of striking fear into the hearts of Tokyo's populace via several other bombings, with a little bit of cuteness and fun on the side. Although while they poke fun at both the populace and the police with flashy YouTube videos.
待たせしました。スフィンクスの謎々を解けるからのコーナーです。スフィンクス1号です。2号です。
But soon they find themselves going toe-to-toe with a figure from their past. One who's both maniacal and flat-out fucking weird. And thus a game of both ambitions and wits plays out an intense thrill ride chock full of explosions and psychological fuckery. As I've said before, I'm not used to feeling thrills when watching anime. At least, not hardcore ones. But this anime actually delivers them. And they deliver them good. This story really knows how to keep you enthralled. Episodes spent disarming bombs, police trying to solve the kids' riddles to find their bombs, saving people from bombs, and above all, two kids combating their enemies using their wits and cunning, adding a tactical flair to the situations they find themselves in. You want to know what happens next, and it is honestly painful waiting for the next episode to come out. Lucky for you, you get to watch it in a single sitting now that it's done airing. Lucky little shit. But the best part of this is the very reason I love animes that are standalone, that aren't based on anything else. Manga, light novels, or whatever, what have you. This actually has an ending. An ending that isn't abrupt, that leaves you having to read something to get an actual conclusion. It has an honest-to-God somber ending that makes sense and leaves you with a pretty good conclusion. Sure, it's a sad and heart-wrenching conclusion, but it's a conclusion nonetheless. It called itself a thriller, and it did what thrillers are supposed to do. Keep me enthralled. At the end of every episode, it was fucking painful waiting for the next installment to come out because I just wanted so hard to find out what was going to happen next. And the ending is just... it's beautiful. It doesn't end with a cliffhanger. It doesn't leave you having to read some other bullshit. It's beautiful. 10 out of 10 for me. One of the best things you can do with a set of characters from a psychological thriller in any type of media is make them a mystery throughout the majority of the series. And this anime does just that. The backstories of our two heroes, if you can call them heroes, are fleshed out along the course of the series by Kenjiro Shibazaki. His primary role is just a type of hound dog tracking the shadowy background of our protagonists, and is mainly seen trying to solve the mystery of where these two kids came from, and what is leading them to do what they're doing. So, though he is a major character, he takes more of a narrative background role. Then there is 9 and 12's nemesis, 5. She serves as the antagonist for the two, having grown up together in the same environment. She works with NEST, or Nuclear Emergency Support Team. She's sent with an American detachment to reclaim the bomb 9 and 12 stole. But she has a much bigger agenda than that. While this bitch is a genius hacker, straight up maniacal, and is dead set on her goal that isn't on par with her employer's wants, she did at the end really throw me for a fucking loop. She's a good character and everything, has clear goals and is motivated, but I do not understand why she did what she did at the very last minute. But whatever floats her boat, I guess. Now, on to Little Miss Oddity, who is probably the worst character in the entire cast. Most of you are probably going to fucking hate Lisa. She's a complete cornucopia of emotional anomalies. That's honestly the best way I can describe her. She's a bully victim and has a dysfunctional relationship with her divorced mother. In short, she's just another kid with a shitty trash life, the kind of girl who thinks she would be better off dead. But I don't really think it warrants the choices she makes. She strikes me as someone who either wants something better out of life and turned to a life of crime for 12's cock, or is just so broken that she doesn't care what her actions result in. She's a klutz and a typical dumb bitch and is used primarily for comic relief.
問題外だ。
そうめん、ダメ?
Or to simply play the part of the damsel in distress. Seriously, she gets kidnapped twice. Luckily, 12 has no problems playing the knight in shining armor role both times. These two are the classic case of love without saying I love you a lot of anime does these days. Though the words never cross the two's lips, it's either love or something that resembles it to the point it might as well be love. But what really gets me is she sticks by the two of them and their plans, regardless of whether or not it's horrific or not. What the hell is going through this tortured girl's mind that drives her to make the choices she's making? The question is never given a straight answer to. But at the same time, I freaking love her for her timidness and misunderstood nature. I don't know, I just love girls like that both in and out of anime. It's a turn on for me. But all in all, she's most likely going to leave you feeling confused or pissed off. At least she confused the shit out of me. If you study child psychology, please write a book on this bitch. I will buy it. But if you honestly think about it another way, this is a psychological thriller, and thus the biggest thing about these characters is the why factor. Why the characters are doing this is the primary question on your mind throughout the entire story. These two youngsters randomly plant bombs and blow shit up, but rarely kill people. And when the antagonists plant bombs that actually threaten to take lives, they try to play the hero and save everyone. And this leaves you racking your mind screaming the word, why? What are these little fuckers trying to accomplish? What is going through their minds when they're blowing shit up? And what the fuck is this Lisa chick's problem? And the fact these questions go unanswered until later in the series is what keeps you enthralled. It's good writing. The characters are what makes a psychological thriller worth watching, and in a sense is more important than the actual story itself even. If it's done wrong, it can kind of destroy the whole thing. And while I'm warning you that some of these actions will still leave you scratching your head in the end, the characters keep you guessing, and that adds to the thriller aspect immensely. People who focus a lot on character development might be left feeling a little bit irritated. Seriously, don't even get me started on what 5 did, nor on Lisa's uselessness. But it still all feels worth it at the end. All around, very good and interesting characters, but they lack some sense sometimes, and they'll leave you scratching your head in the end, or just flat out confused, one or the other. Because of this, that I'm giving the characters here an 8.4 out of 10. They're strange, but they keep you interested. As I've already told you, this is by the same guy that brought us Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. It's dark and fun, wrapped in one nice little package. But mostly dark. We have blurry camera shifts to emphasize mental anguish or dream sequences, gunfights, bike maneuvers, and action-packed chase sequences. It's hard to find anything wrong with it, honestly. It does the thriller setting some intense justice. The vehicles are given a type of CGI/3D feel, especially when they crash. And speaking of crashing, the explosions are pretty primo too. You truly get the sense that they're devastating. And the flashbacks truly look like flashbacks with the gleaming lights and fuzzy static screen tone. These kids really have had a distressing past. And if there is one thing I like, it's animes that don't come across as cartoony. I love this anime's dark, morbid nature. Kids shooting guns and blowing stuff up is always a fucking nice-ass concept. And the way it's portrayed is awesome. And the expressions and seriousness of all the characters' actions leads one to really think this is an anime meant for older people, despite it being an animated feature. It's one of the biggest pluses I've looked for these days. It's shock value, pure and simple. Dark and intriguing with a light peppering of playfulness is what Watanabe-san and his team is gifted at. And it's what fans of more adult-oriented animated features like me look for. Animation gets a 9.8 from me. Fast-paced, thrilling, and dark. All the things I want in anime. Now on to the soundtrack. This is honestly another really huge thing about this. Not just due to the fact it uses a multitude of instruments such as violins, piano pieces, and guitars, but also because it uses lyrics in multiple languages. The plethora of good songs here is abundant, and all of them amazing. The song Vaughn, for example, was sung in Icelandic. And the track titled Is, which is sung in English during one of the more romantic scenes.
Someone tell me how I got here, from the city to this frontier. All the noises joined to make spirits flying at the speed of light.
The soundtrack is beautiful. There's no arguing or debating that. At least arguing or debating with me. But since we're on the subject of sound, I want to mention just one little nitpick I have with the voice acting. There are some American characters here in the form of FBI agents and Nest agents sent to help out with the investigation in order to get back the stolen plutonium. But of course, Studio Mappa doesn't have access to much English voice talent in Japan, so the American characters are voiced by Japanese English speakers, thus have Japanese accents. And honestly, they do pretty damn well.
Show the camera C15 from 10 minutes ago.
It'll take 3 minutes to transfer the data.
You're kidding.
Especially Daisuke Takahashi's portrayal as Clarence.
Got it. I'll take care of it right away. Yeah, things are still unclear.
Why is it this American man has an accent, yet speaks Japanese fluently?
この国が憲法解釈を変えると同時に秘密裏に製造していた原子爆弾の証拠をつかむ。
It's English in a Japanese dub, so it's just naturally cringeworthy to me. If you have to voice American characters, I really believe you should use American voice talent so they match up. Call it a purist issue or just a nitpick, because honestly, that is what it is. Just a nitpick. The English is a bit off-putting for me, but the soundtrack just does it for me in the long run. It's marvelous. 10 out of 10 for me on the music. Final say on Zankyou no Terror? It's brilliant. It's very hard to find any major flaws other than a few cringeworthy traits of some of the characters. It's action-packed, nicely animated, and it keeps you enthralled throughout the entire show. And the soundtrack is beautiful and takes the story along nicely. It should be one of the go-to shows if you're a fan of thrillers, anime or not. I myself am proud to call it the best of the summer season. Pluses include the thrilling animation and awesome soundtrack. But while a lot of the characters are fleshed out along the way, some of them will end up confusing you a little in the end. But for me, all in all, I'm giving Zankyou no Terror, Terror in Tokyo, 5 kawaii bombs out of 5. And we're at the rank of epic.
Who told you you can eat my cookies?